will we just make a start? So lovely to see you all. Will we start with the Monday board? We can work our way through that, and then we can open it up to anyone who's got anything else they want to kind of raise out with that, and we can see where we go from there.
Yep.
So if I just share my screen. Hi Tanya, we've literally just started.
Oh.
You've not missed anything. Okay, so
Apologies for being late.
No, that's all right. That's okay. We're just starting with the Monday board, Tanya. So looking at what we've got, our questions and discussions, the Scottish Patient Safety, I suppose the kind of long and short of it was we did go back and ask the question of, was it kind of hard and fast that there couldn't be local configuration of the PPH forums, and it kind of came back to us to say, actually, no, we could begin to look at generating a change request from that. So it now will sit with us to look at what that change request is going to look like, what's the kind of content, and how we make that kind of locally configurable. And so that's with us to generate the change request. We'll bring it once we've done the content of that. We'll bring it back to the group for wider discussion and agreement of that's what the content should be. That's how you expect it to flow, how you expect it to work. And from there, then we'll submit that to Tanya and her team to review in product. So, yes, Morag.
Sorry, just we want some changes to that for added sort of risks, etc. Is it appropriate to get that added to this change request, or do we need? It would be again for the same way, you can turn off and on what is a risk at different times, and through it, because we've not got PPH switched on yet. Is it appropriate to include it in this if we forward that on to you?
I think so. I think if we open it out to the group, if you think there are new kind of data measures and what kind of changes that inquires, why don't we start by adding it to here? We can review that and to say, does it sit there? Does it sit with a second change request? But if we collate it all in one place initially, it just saves 101 different threads. So pop it on here, Morag, and we can take it from there. It might be that we split it into two, but at least we've got it all in one place. So happy for you to add it there, and then everybody's got sight of it. People might want to add to that as well. So happy for you to add there, and the whole team then can look at it. The manual input of the safety issue raised by SHOT. So what we put in here was the actions of our internal meeting that Chris Martin was hosting about, what can we do to kind of support the safety issue that was kind of raised, and from that products meeting and clinical safety officers, the decision was made that there would be a change where there would be an additional authorisation box attached within the blood group and rhesus factor results tab in relation to blood group and rhesus factor. And I know it kind of currently kind of asks the question and the alert to say, are you sure this is what you want it to be? And if you make any changes, to highlight that there is any changes. So that will be in addition to those two current alerts that kind of sit. You will be asked to authenticate and authorise that those are the results that you're putting in. there won't be an interface functionality, but it will auto-populate, making it a medical device. So how do we best support that without making it a medical device? And that's what we're going to be doing. I'm not sure, Tanya, is there a time frame for when we should expect this in, or is that still in discussion?
There is still in this one is these two are still in discussion.
Okay, so as soon as we kind of know, we'll add it to the board and let you know. I think this one was for a kind of group discussion. Julie had added a request from infant feeding. Don't know if anybody's had a chance to have a read. Has anyone else kind of seen this? Would you like to national request? So I suppose it's not so much the kind of content, it's agreement that that it would be taken forward as a national request. There are kind of a few health boards aligned to it. See, we've got Shetland, Tayside, Lanarkshire. There'll be Fife and Highland. I suppose the question is there any objection to this being taken as a national when we do a change request rather than just 4 boards?
I think as long as it's not, mandatory, Jackie, I think everyone will be happy with that.
Yeah. You know, there's nothing asking for it. Well, mandatory, you would turn on off yourself, but I don't see that it's hugely there's anything to be.
It looks like, Jackie, it's an amendment to an existing change request.
But what is it?
103050.
Okay. And what are they? What did you do? I can't really see because it's in such small.
Yeah, to download it. I'll just get it up just now.
Okay.
So there's a change request in already for First Express breast milk. So it looks like it's a amendment to the existing.
I suppose we need to make sure that doesn't impact on other people's reporting.
So it was originally requested by NHS Lanarkshire.
Well, that's funny because NHS Lanarkshire is one of the ones that's on here asking for the amendment.
I hadn't had a chance to read it previously, Jackie, but reading it over, I don't think Forth Valley would have any issue with it being a national one.
Let's see if I can bring it up. Share it on the screen a bit better. Can people read that a wee bit better?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah. It's looking for additional fields and things to do, so that's not removing anything.
Doesn't look like there's anything too contentious there, Jackie, and as long as it's not mandatory and blocking people doing stuff, I think I don't see a problem.
No, and it looks more addition rather than removing, and linking with current kind of question that's within the neonatal summary.
Can I just ask, because I'm not seeing it it's clear there, and it's not just I'm reading it, but that there's a pull through from the neonatal system, because I think that would be really helpful as well if it's a question that's in the neonatal system, that there's a way we can pull it through. I was looking at something recently with Melanie, who works in the neonatal side, and it was about looking at getting the first feed through from the neonatal, and I thought for some reason you could pull the first feed through from neonatal into maternity, but we couldn't find a way to do it. So I suppose
you got the full EPR?
Yeah.
I'll take a look.
I thought there was a button that you could press to take it through, but I couldn't. But I just think it's like if we're having for in both systems, it would be good if because that sounds like this is going to be mimicking what's in there, that it can pull through, but equally the first feed. Okay. If that could be combined.
Okay. Right, so
I'm just having a wee look. There is a document on the library regarding the
One Baby, One View.
The maternity neonatal data transfer. So it goes through every single field of which pulls through. And I know fine because I had a neonatal catch up with product this week, and there's more coming in this release as well for neonatal. But I would need to check which fields are coming through.
We'll double check on that, Morag, then. But
yeah, I'm just looking at feeding.
Okay, so that is a CR required. Right, so we'll progress that as a national. We'll also consider the first feed neonatal to maternity. Okay. And use chart view. What we said about that. Okay,
so that was me, Jackie.
Yeah.
So it was just really to put it out there to ask if there was any way that it could be viewed by data point rather than time, because we just get clinicians feeding back that they find it quite difficult to navigate the chart, because if you do like 8 sets of OBS over a 24-hour period, you see the whole 24-hour period instead of the 8 sets of OBS. And that's really, I think, if we could have changed that so that it was viewed by data point, then we'd probably a bit more back in love with the electronic Muse chart, and people wouldn't be pushing for paper so much, for us at least. But I get that there's the national push for the English chart. Personally, I don't know much about the English chart. I think it's just been rolled out in England by March 2026, isn't it? But I take on that that's maybe not going to be the focus for.
What Kerry was kind of saying is that there's going to be a kind of bigger and wider discussion. So rather than taking small chunks of change, what we would look to do, Tanya's here representing product, is look at what are all the requests that have come in. So we're not just looking at, we're only going to consider the NHS England recommendation.
Yeah.
Do you know, there are other nations using, so we're not going to go, everybody has to take England, and you know that's not the expectation here. And whilst we're waiting on that, what we're not going to do is do a change to Muse in this release, and then a change to Muse in the next one, and then a change, and do it bit by bit. And so there'll be a whole bigger picture looking at Muse to go, what did all the nations need? are these changes all covered by the new NHS England Muse? Is it as simple as that? Probably not. But, you know, so we'll look at the big picture rather than doing bit by bit by bit.
Okay,
So
ours is very much just to do with the view of it rather than any functionality.
Yeah.
But yeah, get that it's one thing at a time. So fine.
rather than just, you know, giving a wee bit here, wee bit here, wee bit here, just go, this is the new look. These are the kind of changes you can do. These are what you can locally configure. And as part of that, well, Tanya's here. Tanya knows as part of that, they'll look at can we alter the view and or do a view selection to either view it currently or change it. Idea.
I would probably back up what you've said, Jackie, is that we are going to look at the recent Muse requirements to start with, and we're going to handle the Muse changes altogether later on.
Yeah. Okay. So what is worth yourselves? Birth plan. So September, that was still ongoing discussion, and you were starting to put that together as what your change request is. Anybody further forward with that, or still a work in progress?
That's still a work in progress. I know Yasmin's been leading on that one, and she's she's off work at the moment, so we didn't have our last meeting. But yeah, it's still a work in progress. I think it's quite well through it now, but yeah,
fine.
we're kind of stuck at the moment.
Okay. That's why I'm not a touch typist. Okay. Poor slow communication. I suppose, have we improved? Have we let ourselves down? Do we feel there's been any kind of? I mean, things had got better, and you know, Teresa's team were putting out more timely updates as to what was happening when things were happening and keeping you up to date with kind of issues. Anything above that? Is there anything you want to bring back to us that we're not doing that we should be doing that you feel? Or are we status quo? Is it manageable?
I think it was raised at the National Reference Group. Well, it was raised at the National Reference Group, and I kind of agree with it, that I think better use needs to be made of the help desk, that welcome page, so that known issues are put on there. I think what the general consensus was from everybody, I think, in the group is that, you know, if we could go there and actually see that there was a known issue, we wouldn't be bothering the help desk the same, because especially if that was being updated and saying when the resolution was due. So it would kind of benefit yous and ourselves. But as I say, that was raised at the national group as well.
Okay, so no issues to be shared with the service console, and I know Maggie has taken that back and raised that internally as well with the service team. So we completely agree with you, Morag. That, you know, that would be hugely beneficial. So hopefully that's something we take forward, because it's coming at us from every angle internally, and national groups, Scottish groups, you know, so we'll keep you posted on that. Best start reporting.
Sorry, Jackie, can I just have a quick comment on the communication part? It's just slightly related, is to do with the list you hold. I just became aware that we cannot, so basically we can send out, send an update of the new email addresses, which we would require comms to go out. But my understanding is that we can remove email addresses as well, but you don't really hold a list by trust or NHS board. You have just the one list. And then I was told that it's not really possible to, to do it one by one. And I was just wondering would the company consider having a separate distribution list per hospital or trust rather than having just a one distribution list? Because I have the particular problem, and I think many others would have the same, that I would remove users which no longer require comms, but I'm not aware of them because, you know, many times these distributions lists they built over the years, and there's many people on the list which either retired or no longer in position, so they should come out of the list. But as positions do change, I came into this role just 2 years ago, but obviously I'm not really aware of those who put on the distribution list maybe 7 years ago, if that makes sense. So the distribution list is more like just to add on rather than to remove, if you see where I'm coming from. So I was just thinking, I know it's a bit of work, but maybe it would be better to have a distribution list per trust or per NHS board rather than just to have just a big one.
Can I just clarify, Benny, you said that you were told that someone couldn't be removed from the group, from the list.
They could be removed. Indeed, they could be removed if I know who needs to be removed. But see, that's the very problem, because you not necessarily know the person who got to be removed because you're not aware of the person that is on the distribution list. And when I asked if I could be provided with the current distribution list, for example, for NHS Highland, I was told they cannot provide me with such list because there's no such list. There is a big contribution list. So see where I'm coming from.
I do. It's not my gift to resolve, I have to say, but I can certainly ask the question.
I think what happens with that is the reason why it's one is that because then there's not the chance of putting out important comms and missing a trust, if that makes sense. So having it under one means that we know then sending it to one means it goes to everybody, rather than, I suppose that puts more pressure on service delivery. Missing a trust.
I suppose though, Kerry, would the ask be not several different lists, but is there a spreadsheet that has that information? Do you know, it's not so much, you know, because yes, the human error then if you're choosing multiple lists to send those out to wouldn't be the solution. But do we have you know, a spreadsheet to, and you know, each tab is a different health board or trust to go, these are who the comms is sent to. And have something. I don't know who undertakes that piece of work, but you know,
it very much looks like,
you know, something like that would be something a bit more manageable than if anything said who's on Highland, we could say this is their tab, this is the list we could send them to be on. It's worth asking the question, did we consider doing something like that? But like we do with user managers.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
it looks like, as I say, it's an outlook. It's an outlook of add and remove kind of. But yeah, absolutely. If it could be put into an Excel, I don't know if that means, you know, they need to start the contacts from scratch and then be able to monitor it from a spreadsheet, but it's something we could definitely ask.
We can only ask the questions. Spreadsheet. And
Thanks.
Can I just kind of come in there, because I raised this a while ago, is that actually that list should be built from our key contacts that are in our user profiles. And that's something that we've actively tried to do, is to make sure that we are identifying who our key contacts are, be that clinical, be that our e-health department, and that we would review the user profile. And that then means because otherwise, why are we filling that out in the user access form? And Benny, if that is what happens, Vince can help you, because, and I know that's just for you and us, but actually we've got it set up that Health Intelligence pulls that data for us, and so we've got a spreadsheet of everybody in our trust who is a key contact, who's got deletion rights, etc. So we can see that very quickly. But I think I would be then looking for that to be relied upon with from System C is that they're actually using that list, or otherwise.
Exactly. So, no, I would be able to pull that, but obviously I also aware that System C doesn't use the user profile for that purpose. So,
and I think that's more of the issue, isn't it? It's a case if we were.
Well, either way, I would personally, my aim is to be aware of what is my distribution list. Whether it's through the user profile or separately, I personally don't mind. Obviously, the user profile would be easier for us. But I know it's not a big concern, but also as years do pass and decades, that also you have a lot of folks on the distribution list which would no longer require to have these emails. So that's also a consideration, is again, need to know basis. So yeah,
I think it's an information governance issue, because we certainly have had to do our user access, our RBAC rules-based user access document recently, and that was one of the things that we put in there, is that we would identify who our key contacts were within this, the user access form. So I think that kind of has an impact on our information governance as well, if that's not what's being used.
Okay. Let's start reporting. Continue with group discussion. So again, has that been managed within the group, or is still a piece of ongoing work?
We're doing some work in Grampian just now, looking at and comparing the two to see just where the issues are, because we're definitely seeing, and I think some of it is us, definitely, that we're not putting in buddy midwife, and I don't know how everybody else is finding it. We're definitely finding if we don't, we're poor at putting buddy midwife in, which then means that actually when we've looked at the data, there would be continuity if we actually had the buddy data, the buddy midwife in there. But because we've not added it, but once we've done a proper drill down into it, we're just in the middle of kind of doing that. We've done it for one area, we're doing it for another. We'll feed back to the group on that. But I don't know if it's Scottish Government we need to go back to about that, because I think some of their requirement, what they're asking for, is not necessarily easy.
Okay. Have we got anything on leaflets, Kerry?
Nothing new to report. It is up to date just recently. Just 2 seconds, I'm just finding it for the most recent one. Public Health Scotland have been great. They've sent out some winter stuff already, so that is looking up to date. I think I done it on the 9th October. So I'll just keep an eye on that if there's any more. We did add an RSV survey for them, and that is live until the end of today, so that'll be removed as of tomorrow. But no, nothing else, unless anybody else has got anything they've come across.
Bring up?
I suppose the question for me is, are we likely to get any changes in the functionality of Badger Notes as per previous change requests in the next roadmap? or are we looking for that to be way down the road?
Tanya, I think that's one for you.
I'm really sorry. Could you repeat the question, please?
So we've
More
added,
info.
yeah, we've had some change requests put in already around about the functionality of this, just to make it easier and better, so that the leaflets can be seen in the record, you know, the badge on it record, so that the midwife can see what leaflets look like, etc. And I'm just wondering, is that going to be in the roadmap for next year?
I'm not quite familiar with the request, sorry. So what?
They're
could you
change
explain this to me?
requests. They're change requests, Tanya, that you'll be able to get from the Mondays board, the one that says staff to see library. There's two. There have been change requests that have been in the backlog for quite a while, and they're big pieces of work.
Is this the one where in the clients there is a list of leaflets that's suggested to them, and you
That's
would not,
correct.
and you can't see from that list whether they've read them or not? Yeah, like this.
No,
Yep,
it's
so
not whether they've read them or not. They can't see the content
yeah,
of
it
the
allows them.
leaflet. It just gives them a list, but
Yeah,
they
I
can't
know.
they can't view that, so they can't discuss that if the woman's sitting next to them to go, you know, this is
Yep.
your flu vaccination. This is what the leaflet looks like. This is so. You know,
I think it's a
they
different request probably, Jackie, because the one I remember is that's like telling them whether they've read them. What you're talking about is just like each of those,
it's been able to view those. What does that leaflet look like?
almost like adding links to them.
Yeah.
Oh, that is the request I'm not familiar with. Do we have a CR for that?
We should have. Yeah.
We did have, but I just pressed the cross button and I just lost them.
Oh.
I'll add them back on. I've got them
Okay.
here.
We can certainly take that out with this call then, Tanya, because it probably needs a bit more discussion then for you to have time to read the request. But
So
it is a long-standing request.
So the one about the one where you would see whether they've read them is not on the roadmap at the moment. The one that you've just mentioned about like adding just links to those leaflets to preview them is something I'm not familiar with, so I'll need to look into that.
Okay, thanks, Tanya. Okay, I will feed back to you as a group on that once Tanya's had time to review what we were discussing. PPH checklist. Carrie, we internal escalation. Just awaiting it being. We raised it as a escalation, so I suppose it's kind of Tanya's team as to when we get that into the release. Again, I don't know if you'll have had time to review that as yet, Tanya. So we have escalated that, setting with kind of product when we can get that into a future release.
So can I have a look at the request, please, again? Sorry.
Yeah.
When you say it's a checklist, that means that it's like a checklist, that new functionality that we've just done. No, it's something else. Okay.
Something else. It's not allowing me to copy and paste. Hold on. Share just now. This is the request.
Okay. Yeah, that, like, if you could forward that one to me as well.
Okay.
Or put it in the, if easier, if you could put both the leaflets one and this one in the chat, then I will have a look at them.
Yep.
I'll do that, Jackie.
Oh, thanks, Tan. Thanks. Okay. Change request priority list. You've done a wee bit of kind of voting. So we will start trying to escalate what we can of kind of these as your priorities. We don't have anything as yet in the next release, but Maggie, Kerry and I will look at those and see what we can progress as part of the programmes of work and national requests. We'll get back to you and if they get planned and update that, but I don't have any information on that at the moment. The on hold items, the vaccination tool interface. We've been a bit proactive again of trying to push this to resolution. It's sitting with kind of Chris Martin at the moment. We're hoping to get it past testing on both sides. That's kind of been the hold up. When we were ready, they were not. When they were ready, we were not. So there is internal work has gone on in the last couple of weeks to get this to a resolution, because it's just gone on for a long time. I will keep you updated, but certainly it's being pushed by Maggie, Kerry and I in the last couple of weeks again to say it really needs to come to a resolution. You've been waiting forever. So it's the only one I've really kind of got an update on, and anything that's been kind of put on hold. Anybody else get anything on this table that they want to share or update on? Okay. Well, that kind of takes us then to opening up to anything else on your agenda that you want to raise, either as a group or as individual boards. Claire, your hand's up first.
Hello. I think there's nothing further we want to add, but just really to capitalise on the fact that the PPH checklist, the most important part for us is that we can't currently risk assess a woman who has a placenta previa, because that's missing from it. So just to check that that's what the change request is that's been generated for that, is to add back in the abnormal placental implantation. I think it was. There was other things like duplicates that have changed with the functionality since June, like multiple pregnancies charted twice and stuff. But just to double check, that was what the change requests
that's
were
kind of
waiting
fine
for, isn't it?
Claire, can I add you just to go onto the board and say, just as a reminder, please ensure that A, B,
I'll
C,
do
and
that
D are kind of covered. So just to make sure that then nothing does slip through the net. If it's there in black and white for us again, we shouldn't miss it. We've no excuse to miss it then.
Thank you so much. I'll do that.
Morag.
Sorry, I wasn't at the pre-budget meeting last week, so the others in the group when I know about this, but it's just come from the national group reference group, and I think it's really about the new checklist function. I personally, we've looked at it and we didn't really see the benefit of it if it's just going to be as it is, and it's been raised at the national group about that, the data, the syncing of the data to our local databases, our SQL databases, and it's just about to highlight it here as well. Because it seems to be there's a lot of discussion in the national group round about checklists and there being more functionality in there. There seems to be a lot of resource and effort going towards that, but actually it's essentially filing a piece of paper. It's equivalent of filing a loose piece of paper into a record, and for that information not to go anywhere, not to link to anything, not to be able to use it as auditing without going into the individual records. And so I suppose it's just about raising that I think it seems to be good, and it was definitely shown as something that's great, I think, from System C's point of view, but actually on the ground it's essentially just a tick box. It's a case of, have you done this, have you done that, have you done the next thing? But it's not linking to any notes, it's so it's just about, I just hope that's not going to be seen as the answer to everything within BadgerNet.
So, Morag, thank you for raising that. So checklists are going to be of different types. And for example, the one that we've done for release 68 is actually a checklist that sits within the admissions note. So that's not a completely standalone checklist like the one probably you refer to. It was just a thing to do as a reminder. So they will be of different types, and that's admissions one is actually something that was voted for in the national group. So I guess it's just listening to what people ask for and implementing that. So there will be of different types.
But I think so. That one in the admissions note, is that data going to be downloadable into, is that going to be into our local databases so that we can run our reports on that, or is it going to still stand independently?
So the checklists were not intended to be auditable originally. That was not part of the functionality.
I think that's the problem. That's not the part of the functionality that you were proposing, but actually it's about what's useful to us as a board. And I think that's probably the issue, is that you can introduce something which you think is useful, but actually if it's not useful to the boards, it's not useful, kind of thing.
And is that something that's a future consideration, Tanya, that although the original functionality was that it wasn't auditable, that actually having put it into practice, that it would be a beneficial feature to be able to audit?
It could be potentially, but I guess at the moment we've only implemented 2, so I think we would need more feedback to action upon.
I think the feedback's been clear in the national reference group, actually, that everybody
right, so
is
Chris Martin probably has that feedback, does he?
Yeah, he does. But I suppose it's just, I think, for the benefit of everybody else in this group as well, to know that that is a discussion that's going on nationally. But actually, I feel it's something, it's like, I suppose it's just a case of, we've seen it before where there's a lot of resource goes into something new in BadgerNet that seems to be a case of that's what you think we need or we want, but actually it's not necessarily what we do want, and it's about listening to what we want as boards that are going to help us, rather than putting additional fancy features in that don't actually help us.
I think that's fair enough, Morag. I wholeheartedly agree with you. What's the point in giving you bells and whistles when it's actually a drum you want? So yeah, we'll take that on board. I will feed that forward. We'll certainly escalate internally to Chris to say that we know he's aware of that. But again, it's been raised within the Scottish National Group as well as the national regional groups. So
I'm a member of both, Jackie, so I'm happy to have that discussion.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Tanya. Okay. So yeah, we'll certainly take that back to you. I see your point, Morag. Andy, got anything else?
Can I just ask, sorry, what the abnormal presented preview thing is? Because I've got it on the risk factors thing, or have I missed it? Is it on something else? Because I thought it'd been the change request for a presenter preview.
So on admission, Brian, it doesn't give you the option anymore since June to record. It doesn't come up as a field. It's completely missing the abnormal placental implantation field. If you go to 34 weeks, it comes up as the second option after abruption, but it's not shown anymore as on admission. So if someone comes straight into labour ward, there's no way to record that if they come in with a placenta preview.
It does seem to be coming up on mine, but maybe it's because I've opened it as an antenatal one and then tried to move it to an admission one. I'll relook at it.
Yeah, if you've already saved an antenatal one or a 34-week one previously, it does work, but it's based on that. So if someone comes in and they've never done one before, it won't come
that's
up.
great. Yep, I see your point. Okay, thanks.
Okay. And you got anything else? No. Okay. Oh well, a bit time back today then. You certainly know where we are if you need us in between either your business as usual calls or this group next meeting. Give us a wee shout. We'll update the board as we have information, but it was lovely to see you.
Jackie,
Thanks
could
for coming.
you maybe leave the meeting ongoing? Maybe I stop recording, but leave the meeting ongoing for a wee while. Just that I want to catch up with the group regarding how we are going to feed into the national reference group, because just to have a wee quick discussion. Is that okay?
Turn,
of course.
Kerry, can you turn
I'll
off the
stop,
recording?
yeah.
Thank you very much.
So